Hello, I'm Dr. Tim Jochen. Today we're going to be talking about our Skinny Center at Contour Dermatology. And this is something that we've always had, but we're really combining and integrating all the products and technology that are out there today. So, you know, it's summertime. We may be looking at our bodies going, what the heck happened to our bodies? And some of us who have never been in shape are going, wow, I really need to do something about this. But this is a time of year where people are particularly concerned about how they look in their tighter clothes or in their swimsuits. And so at Contour Dermatology, you know, I don't really collect cars. People are always wanting to know what kind of car I drive because they assume I'm successful and they assume I drive a fancy car. But really what I like to collect is I like to collect technology. And I used to say I like to collect lasers, but I really like to collect the technology now because, you know, lasers are devices that are specific to heat the tissue, but now we have other technologies like ultrasound and radio frequency, and then we also have freezing that have added to this armamentarium, fancy word for devices that we use to help improve our skin. And so with our unwanted fat, we have 3 different treatments at our center that we're working with now to help improve the way we look. So we have radio frequency, we have freezing or cryolipolysis, and then we also have traditional tumescent liposuction. So, and coming soon, we're going to be having a medical weight loss center. And I think this is going to be a really great addition to Contour Dermatology. We've been trying to get this going for a while, but we're actually going to join part of a franchise. And the thing that's going to be great about this, it's unique to the desert in that it's going to be a prescription. You're going to have a prescription, and we're going to have a medical assessment, and this is going to be great. And I love some of the diets that are out there. Like I love Dr. Gundry. I think he's wonderful, and I refer people to him. But unfortunately, some people aren't able to adhere to these really rigorous diet programs. So this is something where you're going to get a little bit of a medical boost with a prescription and also close follow-through. So I'm very excited about this. Okay, so with the Vela, we've had the Vela. We're up to version 3 now. So the Vela I've loved since it came out. It was initially developed for improving cellulite, but now it's actually been found to reduce inches as well. And so what it is it's a suction device. It's got a vacuum on it, and it also has light, and it also has radio frequency. Both of these things heat up the fat as it's sucked up into this head. And what the heating does is it helps to break the fibrous bands that we have. And those fibrous bands can be either just naturally occurring in our skin, because these fibrous bands are what cause cellulite to occur, because they hold the skin down, and then the fat cells swell up like popcorn, and then they create these bulges. So by heating these fibrous bands, what we do is we smooth out the skin. Now also we can get fibrous bands if you've had liposuction. Now, when I was younger in residency, I had one of my colleagues, we did a trade where I did his liposuction and he got to go first, which meant he was high on Valium and Vicodin, and then he did me later, so he was kind of messed up when he did mine. And so I ended up with a little lumpy bumpy from my liposuction because of the scar tissue that occurred after my treatment. And with this Vela, what's happened is it's helped to actually break up that scar tissue and smooth out my contour irregularities. But so what it does is it breaks up that scarring or bands that create cellulite, number 1. Number 2, it sucks up the fat cells. And what that does is it heats the fat cells to the point where they die, which is called apoptosis. So it actually helps to reduce inches as well. So it's got the vacuum, it heats, which causes apoptosis or cell death of the fat cells, and then it breaks up the fibrous connective tissue, which leads to irregularities in your skin, and it smooths the skin and also helps to tighten the skin. So this is really a great device for people who have had liposuction or who have lumpy areas or have had the cool sculpt and have a little bit of contour irregularities as well. Great for tightening skin. I love this device. Okay, and so then we can see some of the results. We can see this person had a reduction of 1.5 centimeters in their waist and 2 centimeters in their abdomen and 1 centimeter in their hip from doing the Vela. Great thing about this device also is that it's faster than the old device and requires less treatments. So you can get really good results within 5 treatments. Now the company will say it's 3 treatments. I really recommend that people use this as a maintenance. Like I still continue to get them at least once a month. And you can see here again, we're seeing a reduction of 4 centimeters on this person, 3 centimeters in the abdomen, 4 centimeters in the waist. And again, just reduction in fat, tightening of the skin. So now, the Cool Sculpt is our freezing technology. And this is very similar to the VeloShape in that it has a vacuum to suck up the fat. And, but instead of heating it, what it's doing is it's just, and massaging it like we see with the Vela. This is just a vacuum that's applied to one area, sucks up the fat, and it freezes it. And this is what happens when you take off the head of the Cool Sculpt. You can see it creates this, they like to call it a stick of butter type look in their skin. And so what it does is because it's freezing the fat, it causes this hardness to occur. Now, after the applicator is taken off, what we do is we have that area massaged. And they found that by massaging the area for whatever reason, it helps to improve the results. But with this device, what we're seeing is we're seeing 25% reduction in your fat cells. And you can see this is just 8 weeks after treatment. And you know, all of these are just demonstrations on how effective this fat freezing device is. And again, let's see, just all along here, just all these really very remarkable improvements just by freezing the fat. Now, we also still have tumescent liposuction, and I still think that this is the gold standard for fat reduction. Because with the Cool Sculpt, what you're getting is 25% reduction in fat cells. With tumescent liposuction, we can get 50, 75% reduction in your fat cells. And it was developed by a dermatologist back in the 1990s, and it's a very safe procedure. I think the point that people need to know is it's safe, fast, and effective with little downtime. So basically what we're doing is we're adding a little bit of tumescent anesthesia here, which is a water-based solution with a little bit of numbing in it. We let it settle in, and then we harvest it with a cannula. So we're just basically doing a vacuum, removing those fat cells. Instead of freezing them or heating them, we're just sucking them out. And so the idea is to take the fat cells off of the underlying connective tissue, permanently removing the fat cells. And it's important to know when we talk about fat, people are born with a certain number of fat cells. And so when we reduce that number of fat cells, either by heating them, freezing them, or removing them by suction, those fat cells are gone forever. And so they don't go somewhere else. You're not going to get new fat cells unless, of course, you become obese. And then with liposuction, the aftercare is very simple. You can basically resume activity within a few days and just a little bit of compression. And with the liposuction, you can see we can have very dramatic results with one treatment. You know, with the Vela and Cool Sculpt, you're going to need a couple treatments. But what I like about our Skinny Center is that we have a treatment option that's effective for every person's needs. Some people don't want to have invasive surgery, you know, so we have something for basically everybody now. So I love our new Skinny Center, and I'm excited to be part of it. Any questions? I think it's really important that I think a lot of these work in conjunction. And I myself have had all three treatments. I had the liposuction years ago. I had a little bit of lumpy, a little texture irregularity, and so I do the Velas. I'm also getting a little bit older, and so as you get older, you lose some of the elasticity in your skin. So this really helps to tighten up your skin. So I love combining it with the Vela. And then because I had lipo, I had a step off in my back where I was really skinny, where they took off my love handle, but I had just a little area above it where I didn't want to do lipo again. First of all, I didn't know who to go to. But I did the Cool Sculpt, and it really helped to smooth it out. And now what I'm doing is, because I'm older again, my elasticity isn't as great as it used to be. I'm doing the Velas in that area again to smooth my skin. So I think the combination is really terrific, and it was a great question. Yes, Claudia. The swelling usually dissipates pretty quickly with Cool Sculpt. I would say it's usually about 2 weeks. You know, you don't see your final result again for 6 to 12 months, but you know, it'll be noticeably gone within 2 to 4 weeks. Any other questions? Nope.
Does one have more downtime or less downtime than the other?
In terms of downtime, the liposuction will have more downtime because you do have drainage after the procedure. You'll drain your fluid that we infused for the numbing for 24 hours, and you will have a little bit more swelling. Cool Sculpt, there is still a little bit of downtime because with the fat freezing, you do have a little discomfort and a little bit of swelling there for a few days as well. With the Vela, there's no downtime. So people who want no downtime, the Vela is really the best option. Now, with that said, there can be a little bit of bruising with the Vela, and It just depends on the person. Some people are more prone to bruising than others. And some of that will depend on if you're on anticoagulants or blood thinners as well. Yes?
How many cool scoping sessions are typically recommended, and how far apart would you want to happen them?
Typically, it's recommended to do 2 treatments per area with a cool sculpt. And I'd say we usually recommend 4 weeks in between treatments in order to get the optimum result. Yes?
If you have liposuction, how soon can you get cool sculpt or Vela after?
With the liposuction, how soon can you get the Vela or cool sculpt after liposuction? You probably won't want to do cool sculpt in the same area you did liposuction immediately. I mean, it's unlikely. I consider liposuction a 2-stage process for some people. It's a debulking and then a fine tuning for people who have a lot of tissue. But for somebody who's in pretty good shape, you're not going to need cool sculpt afterwards. So that waiting time, it doesn't really matter. For the Vela, to smooth things out and tighten the skin, I'd recommend as soon as you're not having serious pain. So typically that's about a 2-week to 4-week time frame after liposuction. Yes?
So with cool sculpting and liposuction, are there certain areas of the body where you prefer cool sculpting versus liposuction, or vice versa?
The question is there certain areas where you prefer one over the other? I really think that they're both good. I think it's really more of a personal preference. Do you mind having an invasive procedure, or you completely object to that? If you're a person who completely objects to having an invasive procedure, I would say cool sculpt is for you. If you don't mind, I think you're going to get a better, faster result with a tumescent liposuction. But people like the idea of no downtime, and the cool sculpt is hot right now. People love cool sculpt. And I love it. I mean, because I had these 2 small areas I wanted to get rid of. I mean, I wasn't going to do liposuction for these tiny areas, and it took care of it. So I'm really pleased with the results. Any other questions?
Do you think diet and exercise could have gotten rid of those, or?
The question is, would diet and exercise get rid of the areas that I had? I'm kind of a gym enthusiast, and I'm pretty good about diet. So everybody has pockets of fat. I've done models and weightlifters. Most people have an unwanted pocket of fat that they just can't get rid of with diet and exercise. And for the average person, it becomes even trickier. I mean, I go to the gym 6 days a week, and I do cardio and all that, and I still couldn't get rid of my fat. I'm not an athlete or anything like that, but I work really hard at it, and I still couldn't get rid of it. And I do see people who are really intense, and they make their living from how they look, and they still need to have liposuction or some tweak in their body.